Welcome back to the Tectonic Takes podcast. We've got MLS and Gold Cup and Club World Cup, oh my. But most importantly, Pandemonium and Providence Park. So we're going to start with the San Jose Earthquakes game against Portland Timbers. We're going to end with the San Jose Earthquakes going into our double game week with FC Dallas and LA Galaxy. We'll begin that preview. Next week, we'll give you a more in depth preview. With a little bit of extra time, we'll talk a little bit about the Gold Cup and the Club World Cup, but of course, we've got plenty to talk about with just this game alone. Of course, Providence Park, one of the toughest places for San Jose Earthquakes to play in, and it was yet another game that we were fearing just because of the history and the pressure of we've already beaten Portland Timbers twice, and granted, one of them was in the U.S. Open Cup, and by MLS rules, that would have been a draw because we won extra time. So it's really tough to beat the same team three times in the season. So, Abram, what were your opening thoughts going into this game?
I mean, you know, uh, Ivan, this is actually our first episode together in 4 episodes. It's been a minute since we've been able to record together, but
Ships passing through the night.
yeah. In our last episode that we posted on the channel, me, Saz, and Devin talked about this game, and we were like nervous. We had a lot to say, but we were nervous because of obviously the curse that we just can't beat Portland at Providence Park, and that is the curse is ongoing still. But I didn't get to see too much of the match because I was at the beach with my family, and we were just having a good time there. I was very stressed out seeing the score when Portland got a goal and then Ian Harkes got sent off. I'm like, oh my god, that happen every time we go there. But no, it ended up being an okay result. Definitely better than nothing. I think the biggest loss though is Harkes with the red card. But no, it was great to have a result and then also to see Judd, getting continuing to get the accolade that he has kind of like been working towards and starting to earn more and more.
This might be the first good news about a midweek fixture that Bruce Arena is about to get, because that means the suspension will be served midweek against FC Dallas, and we'd much rather have him for that big game in Stanford Stadium against LA Galaxy.
No, that's definitely true. I hadn't considered that, but that is coming up really fast. This season is going like super quick. May I wouldn't say it went quick. It felt like a battle. Like every day was just every like 3 days was another game. You have to do something for media, and I'm surprised we are able to keep up and keep content going the whole time just because of like how hectic life is. But May is over. We're into June, and it's almost Cali Classico time. I can't believe it.
May felt like one of those old timey Western movies where a bar or brawl just breaks out and then you're just fighting one guy after the other, and it's just like, okay, let me just drink my beer for a little bit and
I know exactly what you mean, Evan.
yeah. So it is strange still because they are trying to accommodate for players missing in both the Gold Cup and the clubs that are involved in the Club World Cup. It always feels like a backhanded compliment to give this extended break during the group stages of both those tournaments, because it's almost like you're expecting a majority of the MLS players in maybe some of the lower tier CONCACAF nations, as well as the MLS teams in the Club World Cup, that, okay, we don't expect you to be gone for too long, so enjoy this break while you have it, and then report back to duty on Wednesday, June 25th. We still have 9 days before the next game for the San Jose Earthquakes.
Yeah, I mean, I said in the last episode that like having that bye, it's felt like a mini off season just with how congested May was, and then having like a normal amount of time between games now is crazy, and it feels like I haven't been to the stadium in so long now. It feels like.
The next opportunity will be in July. That's when they'll host the New York Red Bulls, and that will be the next time that the Earthquakes will experience a 7 day gap in between games, the Galaxy game and then the Red Bulls game.
I'm glad I have you, Ivan, to keep track of all that for me because it's just it's actually dangerous for me to be like keeping up with that because I'm driving all the time. So, you keep me alive and keep me from getting traffic tickets. I'm glad to have you around.
You're welcome. If I can save all my friends from getting traffic tickets, then I feel really good about myself. But let's get into the lineup, starting with the Quakes lineup. No real surprise here, given international duty and players that are still missing due to injury. Of course, with Hernan Lopez, the sad part is that it's a different injury picked up, so that sucks. Interestingly, Pellegrino continues to get a start, but then I realized that while Usaini Buda was able to return in time from Burkina Faso, that it was still a tight turnaround for him to be starting ready for the San Jose Earthquakes, given the minutes that he logged. So Pellegrino, almost by default, is getting that starting nod, especially if you consider Benji Kikanovic more as a wingback under Bruce Arena. So as much as he's in a big slump, I'm not sure if you can call it a slump considering it's been the majority of his San Jose Earthquakes career, but unfortunately it continued in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. I would say that is mental. I don't think that it's a problem with like. I think that he showed that he can kick a ball correctly, but he's not doing it because of he just when the pressure's on, when the moment is there, he kind of hesitates, messes up, and I think that we can all relate to that. But to have such a consistent, like I don't know, period of time where you just can't find the back of the net. It's really wearing on him. I feel like, and uh, I mean, Buddha. I didn't get to see this part of the game when Buddha came on, but from what I hear, he changed the game, made things much better. Um, and his partnership with Judd, like, it's kind of an unofficial partnership at this point, where they just kind of find each other, and they also have like very different philosophies on how to play. One's like a finesse type player, one's like a bulldozer, so they work well together. So I don't think that we should have to bench Pellegrino for Buddha, but we have to bench Pellegrino at some point. I heard I didn't get to be in the press conference obviously, but I heard that Pella is getting the nod because Bruce really likes what he sees in training. He's liking how he plays, and Pellegrino on his day is a very elegant player that has ability to do a lot of very aesthetic things, and also just like he scored a lot of goals in Norway. Like I don't think that people realize like he was really 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 good in Norway, but just his general play has been really disappointing. Even just outside of just missing the goal every time he's within 20 yards of it, it's also just I feel like there's a lot in his build-up play that leaves to be desired because he doesn't dribble, he doesn't beat players off the dribble, he doesn't like he doesn't really find incisive passes like that. He's good in the air, like to have knock-ons and stuff, like in the box. It's helpful, but I don't know if he's worth playing him over somebody else who could do a good job of that position. Like seeing who we had Buddha obviously, but Benji can also play in that position. Obviously, Bruce might prefer him in another position, but it's not like we don't have any more options other than Pellegrino. So it'll be interesting to see at what point Bruce decides to cut his losses, because Pellegrino does have the with the chances that he gets, there is every chance that he could just start scoring goals like crazy because he's getting a lot of really good opportunities, high xG, and all that. But he's not scoring them, and that's what matters. It doesn't matter if he's not scoring them. So you have to kind of consider. And Bruce is the type of guy, in my opinion, who will at some point open up and see like, well, I was trying to do an impression. Well, it's not going in the goal, so like it's just I'm waiting for that other shoe to drop, but it obviously hasn't yet. So Pellegrino's still seeing time on the pitch.
Part of it is also the lack of options at that position, which is a bit of an interesting conundrum. Of course, the San Jose Earthquakes could make a move, but I'm not sure what moves they can make of note without moving a player on, given our current roster and salary construction. Additionally, when you think of other players that maybe had a shorter leash this season, like Rodriguez, for example, turns out we have four plus, maybe, good center backs. So that means that if one of them is having a rough patch, the others can come in. Right now, we are missing Bruno Wilson a lot less than we thought we would. Another player that fans are getting frustrated at because he's been injured so long, because Mooney stepped up, and then Rodriguez has returned to form, and Romney's been Romney. He's been reliable. He's been consistent. Another thing I noted too is that we are missing a lot of players in the midfield positions. Of course, there was no Lopez, no Buck, no Chakiris, and the beneficiary of that for another opportunity to be on the bench was Nick Fernandez. It was good to see him alongside Mark Anthony Kaye, both of them defensive midfield options. And the game state did mean that there wasn't really a chance for him to come on. It would have been probably too much to ask for him. Granted, only 4 subs were used, and if you did want another defensive option, probably it was going to be between him or Floriani, if you consider Floriani ahead of Roberts in the pecking order, which probably is fair. But otherwise, I thought that this was a good lineup. I think that when the red card happened, I'm sure Amal Pellegrino also mentally realized that his miss in the first half is going to weigh even more heavily on him and the team. But they were able to pull through. And it was despite some poor referee decisions.
Yeah, I mean, again, uh, limited time viewing the match, but it's kind of ridiculous at this point how often this happens to us at that specific location. And I'm not gonna be the one that's gonna say that anything lawful is happening. That's just not what I'm gonna put myself in. But it's kind of suspicious. It's really rough because the kind of double jeopardy moment with Bruno Wilson last year, where they shot it at his arm and then he got sent off because the ball hit him in the arm. And then also, what's his name, Yarborough, getting a yellow card and also a penalty or something like that. It was that was huge on the season. That really, like, we were starting to move in the right direction, and then that killed our momentum, and then we didn't revive it after that. And I was worried because our momentum is like, we had a really good month of May, and then we lost a game, and then we started to come back into form, and then I thought that this Portland game was gonna, like, again, just like, because it kind of happened that way for the Quakes. It's like something happened, a big game, like, really put a dent in our morale. But this Quakes team has a lot of grit, as we are starting to say a lot. Which is, all we ask for as fans is just do your job correctly. So, despite the referee decisions, we were able to do a decent job, and I'm really happy to be able to say that.
Yeah, as always, we don't like to linger too much on the ref side of the game, but when the commentary is saying that that was a harsh decision to give Ian Harkes a second yellow, then that is really a poor decision. The first yellow he got, of course, it was an easy textbook yellow card. That's fine. However, it is part of the game you have to consider when you're going to give someone either a second yellow card or a first red card. Was it really worth it to alter the state of the game to punish that infraction to that extent? So that's something that I think there seems to be a lack of understanding at times. I'm not saying this is a specific MLS issue or American soccer issue. This seems to be an issue in refereeing in general, but then again, it is a thankless job. We understand that. I'm not going to harp on it much more unless you have anything else to add.
No, I mean, I when I was a kid, I had done my refereeing class, and I'm not saying that I was a professional referee or anything, but, like, I mean, it is hard, it's difficult, and I've never experienced anything at the level of professional referee, obviously, but you still know your rules, and they've done this. This guy, I don't remember his name, but he's a very experienced referee, and he's refed our games a lot. And I've never liked how he's refereed our games. I've always had a problem with how he chooses to referee us. I don't like how aggressive he is when dulling players off. And I don't know. It's hard to say because it's like there is a big part of me that's like you feel this way because you're a Quakes fan, and when things go against you, which things a lot of the times do go against us, you can have a problem with it. But so it's hard to convince the rational side of myself that the feelings that I'm having about the poor refereeing are valid and I'm being objective about the bad decisions. But I do know the rules. And, I proved that I know the rules. I got my certification and stuff. Um, so I see these things and I'm like, this is just ridiculous. Because if I'm seeing what he's seeing, but the problem is that you could see it on the replay and it's much different from what they see on the field. And I believe because it was a second yellow and not a straight red, they weren't able to go to VAR to look at it. That's what I heard. I don't actually know if that's the rule. So, you gotta be a little bit understanding at that point to be like, okay, well, he has to make a decision. Um, but I don't know. What I'm hearing is that there's no contact on that play. So it's not even a foul if that's the case, right? So how are you going to get a yellow for that? It's really it's very frustrating because it's not just that it's like we want this league and we want this sport to have good refereeing because if it doesn't, it's like what are we doing it for? But it's also just like it always comes around to us and there's been like a few times where I felt the refereeing was like maybe slightly in our favor very few times, but like it's happened. But way more often it feels like the other way around.
This is why I enjoy watching certain games where I don't have a dog in the fight because that way I feel like I can analyze refereeing decisions a bit more neutrally. There's usually going to be a preference one way or another, whether it's one club has an American player or Mexican player, the other one doesn't, whether one is a direct rival or not. I think back to the Art of War, the rule "Know Your Enemy," and because we've played Portland Timbers 3 times this season, I feel like we know Portland Timbers better than we do any other non-LA team based on the 2025 rosters. But there's always this sense of doom and gloom when it comes to playing in Providence Park as well, just going through their entire existence in MLS going back to 2011. So it's just all those factors at play. Other things I noticed in the first half were the Jimmer Forey and Anthony side was particularly dangerous, and that was the one that Daewon Jones was struggling with, at least in the first half. He performed much better on the second half, and it was good to see Christian Arango performing his defensive duties. Yeah, he has that similar mindset of Espinoza, where, of course, their big focus is to provide the goals and to be offensive threats, but to be able to commit, and this is before the red card or the second yellow, to commit consistently defensively, that is very much appreciated. And I did get nervous that we were going to be going to halftime with 10 players when Christian Espinoza committed a bit of a physical foul while he was on a yellow card. He got his first yellow in the 40th minute, and this was in the second minute of extra time, and that would have been a very scary moment.
And that's a lot of the times when I was a referee, I keep bringing it back to this. I want to say I was never a professional referee, but when I was a referee, they did teach us that like when a team is making multiple fouls, like one here, one here, one here, then you have to at some point punish someone. You have to show another card, and so that could very well have informed the second yellow on Harks, being like, okay, you guys got to stop fouling. Here's the yellow, and it just so happened to be the guy that had a yellow. And I think it is ridiculous to not realize that when you're on the pitch, with a whistle, but it is like the unfortunate reality of like you have to make a statement as a referee. You have to keep showing your dominance, and it's really unfortunate that the game has to kind of come to that psychological warfare type of thing, or like you said, the art of war when you brought that up. No, I'm obviously I'm super glad that Espinosa didn't end up getting the card, but Harks is another. I think he was in my top five. I think he was number 5 in the last episode we did. Huge player for us, really, really, really important. So that sucks. But Espinosa was all of our number one player this season. He's our captain. He's the best player we have. So definitely preferable to have Harks out, even though that really hurts to say because it's not great.
There was a point in this season where Bolaroo had that incredible start to the season, just breaking into the lineup and then performing well in doing so, where I underappreciated Ian Hark's contribution. Maybe I was looking for places to bring in other players, whether they were talented or they were coming back from injury, and thinking, okay, well, the player that has to be sacrificed is Harks. But then, as we continue to watch more and more, Harks' role became more and more integral, where you can't really go to that anymore in those hypothetical lineup situations. So it hurt to lose him for the half that we did. I think he was sent off somewhere between the 50th and 60th minute based on my notes. So we're going to lose him for at least 120 minutes, considering he will be unavailable for the FC Dallas game. But I think that maybe it'll be a blessing in disguise. He'll be even more of a game changer coming out guns blazing with the LA Galaxy game on Saturday. Someone who did come out guns blazing and maybe didn't take the referee's advice when you're trying to show a yellow card for a team that's consistently fouling. It was seconds into the second half where Daewon Jones picked up a yellow card, and then things started to spiral a little bit in this game. That's where the pandemonium really started in the second half, where unfortunately Anthony was subbed out due to injury. He was one of Portland's best players. He might be Portland's most talented player this season, certainly with Evander no longer in town. And that's been an unfortunate trend for the last couple of games where our opponents have been losing injuries. You never want that to happen. So the fact that's happened with Marco Royce and now Anthony, that genuinely sucks. You want to see your opponents at their best and being able to overcome them. And that did coincide with a few minutes later there was that Ian Hark's decision. So the game changed multiple times within the first 15 minutes of the second half.
Yeah, I mean, luckily we are well versed in Pandemonium, as you said, Ivan. That's Judd's middle name, I believe. We do have a team that is built kind of to deal with that. Big guys, a lot of grit, and that's exactly what we need. I think this is where like the Bruce Arena mindset really shows when it's like the cards are down, guys. It's we have to do whatever it takes to win. It's points. We need points, and I said win, we drew, but you know what I mean. It's like we have to just do it, and that really showed, and yeah, I think the Quicks posted today something about Judd Lenhart or something like that, and that just another to reiterate the amount of chaos that he seems to thrive under.
We've come a long way from Wondolowski, Lenhard, and Gordon to now Chicho Arango, Joseph Martinez, and Preston Judd.
It's crazy. It's and last year it was Jeremy Abobasi, Preston Judd, and maybe Buddha if the wind's blowing the right direction. But now it's a much different team. That's another place where Bruce Arena really shines. There's the coach aspect, there's the sporting director aspect, and wow, yeah. I mean, you can't ask for much better than Chicho Arango and Joseph Martinez. I mean, you could ask for Wando, but he's a little bit busy.
Slight tangent because we'll talk about the Club World Cup briefly later. But if you have told me that Jeremy Abobasi would have started against Chelsea, I would have assumed that he got transferred to a lower Premier League team or a championship team, and this was like a cup competition.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I'm happy for him because things weren't working out here in his last season. So, and obviously he's a great guy. He was my favorite player to have in the press conferences because just the things he said, the way he said it, beautiful. So yeah, I'm happy that he has the opportunity. I know that when he was younger, he had the chance to train in for the Fulham Academy, something like that. So this kind of helps with that dream of playing against English teams. But no, I mean he seems to be well liked in LA. It seems to be a better fit for his talent. So yeah, shout out to Jeremy.
Let's go bar for bar here with the last few big moments of the second half from the 70th minute onwards. So 70th minute was when Juan Mosquera, the Colombian fullback, he put the ball in the back of the net. There was a brief question of offside involving David Acosta, who is another talented player, probably on par with Anthony, and unfortunately, Dewan Jones was the one that kept him onside. And you hate to say this for Daniel because he's saved us so many times. Could he have done better in that goal?
I didn't get to watch that part, um, so I can't really say. Um, but I will say just philosophy side of it. Don't you think he earned it from that incredible save earlier in the match? It's just he's looking to dive to his left, and then the ball goes to his right, and he ends up making that save. So I will say that is something I did see in the highlights. But no, that really does suck. But I I'm just kind of happy to have him back. Maybe we'll blame the his knee for that. It's hard to. Daniel's earned a lot of grace from me, obviously, but no, goalkeeper is gonna make mistakes. All of them are gonna make mistakes. It's not anything that we should count against him. But I'll have to look at it, Ivan, and then I can let you know off the podcast, obviously. But it very well might be his mistake.
Yeah, I say that because he made contact with it, but I'm more disappointed in the fact that Dewan Jones' positioning wasn't better. The big lesson to take from that, though, is that the San Jose Earthquakes have done a great job pulling off the offside trap this season. They've done it a handful of times, just off the top of my head. However, eventually our luck runs out, and that will result in a goal. So there has to be a bit more discipline in those moments. I will give everyone a pass though in this situation because not only were they down a player, but surprisingly, San Jose Earthquakes were playing better when Ian Harkes was sent off. I don't know how that happens. Maybe it's just an adrenaline rush, but that was another wild development, similar to Espinoza in the 77th minute. He nearly scored off an Olympico.
It kind of seems like every so often he's going for it, right? There was a at the Levi's game. I think Rodriguez ended up getting a nod onto it, but the Levi's game, I think it was last season. I fully believed that he scored an Olympico because it was like just coming in near post and then ended up in the far back corner. He has that ability. His corners are like very frustrating to me when they fail because I'm like, you have to do better. But it's because he's going for something dangerous. He's going for that cutthroat pass into like a very dangerous area at very high speeds. And so when those fail, it's gonna look really frustrating. But I do kind of have to appreciate what he goes for and how effective it has been because I don't have the numbers in front of me obviously, but I've been pretty happy with how we've been offensively off of set pieces. I think that we've scored a decent amount of goals, not like an amazing amount, but like we look like we can score from set pieces, and that's obviously a very good thing.
We catch a little bit of a break when Kevin Kelsey they scored a goal in stoppage time, but it was ruled offside. There was no ifs, ands, or buts with that call. And then that's when Preston Judd etched his name once again with a late equalizer. I know you saw that one.
That one I did see. It was all over Twitter, all over Instagram. Um, so I was we went to Santa Cruz to watch movies on the beach. So I was hanging out with my family there, and then I'm like, I should probably check the game. And I look, and then 93rd minute, Preston Judd, and I was like fist pumping. I was super happy, and my mom was like, What is wrong with this boy?" But no, I was obviously very happy to see that because it looked like a lost cause Just looking at the score and the red card before that, no, the that shot from Buddha is very important that we're taking those shots. I think there was a mindset before of like we don't want to lose the ball, so let's not do that kind of thing. But Abuda, he got the ball, took his man on, and he's someone else with a lot of power in the shot, so he opened it up. And no, you just have to take the chances. Uh, Judd just happened to be in the right spot, which is very Wando of him. I don't think that he is the quite the poacher that Wando is quite yet. I'm saying that because there's a lot of comparison to him and Wando, to him and Lenhart, and the great comparisons. And I do hope that he does a lot of great things for us. But let's calm down on the Wando thing there for at least like I don't know, like 150 more goals, and then we can talk about it. But no, just really what got us that goal was the grit and also just the mindset to attack. Because when Buddha takes that shot, it's easy for a striker to give up. It's like, okay, let's see where the shot goes. But Judd knows that he has to run in and follow the shot in to see if that happens, to see if the keeper can't deal with it. And if the keeper spills that, then you have to be there. And so Judd did everything right. Buddha did everything right. And the keeper, he's going to want to do a lot better on that because it's coming with a lot of power. But I don't know if you see the amount of power is coming with, you want to parry it or something, or just really be sure you have that under control. And he did not have it under control. He spilled it, and Judd took advantage. But yeah, I'm very happy to see that we're able to get a point.
Quick note on the Portland keeper, James Pantemis. He was the starter for much of the season for the Portland Timbers. He won that job off of Crepeau before Pantemis got injured. Then Crepeau ended up getting the job back. He ended up doing enough to get a call up for the Canada roster in the Gold Cup. And now Pantemis, yeah, he's starting for Portland again by default. But now he is conceding a goal like that. He's going to want that one back. So a lot can change in soccer in a quick amount of time.
I mean, I was hanging out with you and Abel, I believe, when Crepeau broke his leg in the MLS Cup final. That was like, yeah, that's just another like reiterating thing about how much things can change in such a short amount of time. Where the game was tied or something, and then that guy's leg's broken. He's also sent off, and then next thing you know, Bale's scoring a header and winning MLS Cup. Um, that guy's had a really strange career, Crepeau. Just ups and downs for sure.
The player of the match for this game was Juan Mosquera for the Portland Timbers. I would give the Quakes player of the match in this game probably to Rodriguez, but you could really give it to any of the back three. I think that they really did a good job. For me, Rodriguez's highlight play, it came in the first half where he had a smooth little trick to kick the ball off of Anthony for a goal kick, and I think that that's Rodriguez as best. He's trying some audacious things, but he is talented and smart enough to pull it off, and that's the kind of guy that I love seeing play for the Quakes.
I believe it's called Funk. The way he plays, that's what I call it now, Funk.
I think that everyone just forgot about the fact that we haven't won in Providence Park. Another part of that statistic is that this is only the fifth time we've drawn in Providence Park. So we've been losing a lot more than drawing. So we'll take the result given the circumstances and we can move forward. We're still in the lower end of the playoff picture, but there's still time to change that.
Yeah, I'm looking at the table right now. I'm surprised to see Portland is so up there with how many times we beat them this season. I'm like, they can't be that good, right? They're in fourth place. We have Dallas in 10th. They have not a great goal difference, so I don't know. It kind of seems like a game that we should be able to win. So with that, we'd be able to go to if Austin also loses, we need all the Texas teams to do bad. If Austin loses as well, then we take them in the table and go to seventh. Seventh is much better than eighth. I've been saying this. I was on a podcast, an RSL podcast. I can't remember the name right now, but I was a guest on the show, and they were like, "Do you think you guys can do seventh?" And I was like, "That's way too high. We're gonna get eighth." And I was like, "Wait, that's just one number lower." But it's like it is a big difference with the play-in stuff. So I still hold firm by that. But no, I mean yeah, like I'm hoping to make the playoffs, and it's not like far fetched. And Bruce, what I heard is that he promised that we will make the playoffs. I don't know if you saw that, Ivan, but I believe him.
The thing is, with FC Dallas, they may be 10th, but they're only a few points behind the San Jose Earthquakes. So they can enter themselves into the picture by beating us. That's a head to head win. And we got to make sure that we definitely don't lose to these teams, but ideally we beat them to keep them at arm's length. And I think you noted something interesting about the Portland Timbers as well. Sure, we've gotten 4 points off of them, but Portland picked up a win against St. Louis where we couldn't. So it's MLS. We're going to be the scissors to someone's papers, and then we're going to get crushed by some rocks.
There's been, I mean, just within like a matter of weeks, we could be LAFC's. Just so we beat them at Levi's, no problem, and then they beat us everywhere else. So yeah, I definitely agree with that point.
Looking ahead to the remaining games while the Gold Cup is ongoing, so FC Dallas, LA Galaxy, and then the New York Red Bulls game. So the thing is, usually we've gotten at least one team where they were missing a couple players of the Gold Cup. I guess that one team was the Portland Timbers. They had no Kripo, they had no Kamal Miller, both of Canada, and they were also missing Ariel Lassiter, who is a solid starter slash bench option. He floats in between those roles. The one exception would have been Omar Valencia, a defender for the New York Red Bulls. I'm not sure he would have started anyway, but he was on Panama's preliminary roster. He got cut from it. So neither Dallas, Galaxy, or Red Bulls will be missing anyone from the Gold Cup, which means, okay, we go at full strength, which is fair because San Jose Earthquakes didn't have anyone called up for the Gold Cup either. So whatever. It's just like a regular MLS fixture. You go with what you got. Abram, you're muted.
Sorry, I always forget. But no, it's ultimately beneficial to us as much as we'd like to be able to say like that we have players that are so good that they're getting called up to the national team, and we do have players that do get called up, but in this Gold Cup, obviously not. And I'm glad that we get to keep our players.
They invited Saudi Arabia to the Gold Cup, not Burkina Faso or Venezuela. What can we do?
I mean, I'm glad. Yeah, like I said, that's good. Good. Venezuela and Burkina Faso stay home. We can keep Buddha. We'll take care of him for you. Don't worry. You guys take a rest. A lot of people taking rest right now, so don't worry about it. It'll be fine.
For the next 5-10 minutes or so, we'll talk briefly about the Gold Cup and Club World Cup, give you an update on that, and then we'll conclude with some opening thoughts on the FC Dallas and LA Galaxy games before wrapping up. So if you want to skip ahead to then, feel free to do so, but we appreciate you listening to our thoughts. We'll start with the Gold Cup scores as of now. As we're recording this, I think Panama probably wrapped up a win against Guadeloupe. They were up 4-1 last I checked. And the other results not involving Mexico or USA, Saudi Arabia beat Haiti 1-0. Costa Rica won against Suriname 4-3. Check out the highlights for that game. And most importantly for us as Mexican Americans, USA beating Trinidad and Tobago 5-0 once again. Why couldn't you do that for the 2018 World Cup? But then also, Mexico had to fight and claw to get a 3-2 win against Dominican Republic. Do either of those wins change your perception about what these two heavy hitters can accomplish in the Gold Cup, Abram?
I mean, so you look at the both these teams and say that they should be beating these teams. It is obviously nerve wracking for Mexico, but these games are that's how they go. Trinidad and Tobago just happened to not have a fight in them this day, and it get things. It's soccer, all that matters is score at the end of the day. So it's hard to say yes. I feel scared or I feel confident based off these scores because I haven't felt confident in Mexico in a long time. It's they're not doing that well, all things considered. Um, it's just overall like the last 5 years or so. I'm not saying this particular team right now. It's just we haven't been as strong as we like to think we are. For the USA, I think a very similar thing, but I think the USA has the added difficulty of the conundrums off the field, and that's going to affect the locker room. That's going to affect the performances on the field. You know, it's not just like all the discussion about Pulisic, which I'm happy to talk about him, and if you are, but there's it's obviously been well covered. But if I'm Diego Luna, I'm like, why are we worrying about Pulisic? Me, I'm here now. I'm playing this game, and I'm getting assists. And then you talk about it like, oh yeah, well it's just Trinidad and Tobago. Like okay, so I'll lose next time then. And then when like what do you want? What do you want? Like it's so frustrating to see the pundits just like, well I'm not playing on this team anymore, so I get to be all salty about everything that happens. Like I'm just like, man, let it go. Like it's just talk about the soccer, talk about the performance, not just like how you feel about what it means. If we're winning, we're winning. If you're losing, that's what we have to be worried. I'm not too worried about the performance on the pitch because I think that like the USA is in a recovery period right now where they had a coach and they let a coach go. We have Pochettino in and he's doing a rebuild. I think that it'll end up being fine if we let it, but if we keep disrupting the locker room with these comments about all the players in it's going to take a lot longer. It's not going to be that's not conducive to improving our performances because guess what? You can't get back on the pitch. Dempsey, Donovan, you're done. So support your guys, and then leave it at that. Like just show support. I don't see why it has to be like causing stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, the whole Pulisic situation, I feel like we already got to see the A team in action in the Nations League. So I'm not as heartbroken about Pulisic missing this tournament as a lot of people are. Additionally, we have players like Weston McKennie and Tim Weah that couldn't be here even if they wanted to because Juventus happened to be in the Club World Cup. So even if Pulisic is here, there was no way we were going to get our best roster here, missing two of our other top 10-ish players. Weston McKennie probably top 5-ish, Timothy Weah top 10. So it was never going to align given this state of affairs between the Gold Cup, Club World Cup, and so on. The Gold Cup happens as frequently as any other continental tournament, more frequently besides the African Cup of Nations. I think they have like two every 4 years as well. The Euros is only once every 4 years. Copa America only once every 4 years. Asian Cup only once every 4 years. So I think that the Gold Cup it has been diluted, but I understand the frustrations because it is the last competitive matches before the World Cup. But with these absences come opportunities. Can't read too much into a win against Trinidad and Tobago, but we are happy to see that both of our guys as former Quakes Academy players, Diego Luna and Max Arfson, they got a pair of assists. And yeah, all you can do is perform well against who you're facing, and then hopefully that continues against what I assume to be tougher opponents with Haiti and Saudi Arabia.
I mean, you are right. Diego Luna is a kind of player. Crystal will kill you if I let you go on without mentioning that Arfton was never an academy player. He did come. He was at Irvine, then he came to our Quakes 2 team, and then he elected for the draft after that season. And then it was a whole really complicated set of events that I don't fully understand. But he is a cad not he is a product of our second team in a way, and I will still claim that 100%. We got him noticed, by the club that ended up getting him to this level. So I'm still claiming Max Arton Academy product or not. And Diego Luna, also same thing. But he is an Academy player, and I love seeing his success because not just his story, not just the person he is, and how much RSL fans love him, but he's also just an incredible player to watch. And I hope that he does really well with the national team, and then hopefully even beyond that club level, maybe he can get a move to a big team, or maybe even becoming an MLS legend. I would be happy with that for him.
Yeah, apologies for that mistake, Crystal. The one thing I will say is that with Diego Luna, he does have the quality to make a step up from MLS at some point. If he does decide to make a move, I'm not sure if Real Salt Lake have gotten any offers for this summer window, but the summer and the winter window before World Cup sometimes can be the riskiest times to make a move because one bad move and all of a sudden you're not playing means that you might not be on the plane, in this case, the bus to wherever you're going to in the United States, but probably the plane because it's a big country. The point is, you could screw yourself out of a World Cup spot if you have a good situation in terms of playing time and productivity and you take that gamble. But at the same time, if he gets a offer to play in a competitive European league, that could benefit if he does make the World Cup roster. As for Mexico, with their 3-2 win over the Dominican Republic, it was closer than it was expected to be, but they were up 2-0 and then 3-1. Dominican Republic fought back, they pegged them back to make it a close game at the very end, but you gutted out the 3 points. The moral of the story is that Mexico have to be better, particularly in the run of play, when similarly they're going to have the tougher opponents to come next with Costa Rica and Suriname. Suriname in particular, they're in that spot where Jamaica was a few years ago, where they started recruiting dual nationals. Jamaica from England, Suriname from Netherlands. There's your history/colonization lesson of the day.
Thank you very much, Evan. I just I was always like Mexico was my favorite team to watch all growing up, and seeing like one of my favorite moments was the Raul Jimenez bicycle kick, that incredible goal, and I've never felt like no other team has made me feel as passionately as I do about the Quakes other than Mexico, and it's really frustrating because we could do well and we're still like just down on ourselves, but I believe that the big factor that really holds us back is our own arrogance and just being like, we're Mexico, we're the best team here. Like, none of these other teams, like USA, who do they have? They have Dempsey still. It's fine. They have Wondolowski still. It will be like you have to respect your opponents more than that. And I see fans who still believe, in my opinion, this is just my opinion. The Mexican fans still believe that they have a better team in terms of where the players play and the quality of players. I think that is the closest to the USA, but the USA with their A squad just has a better team, and we've seen them like beating the Mexico in tournaments in the final, and it's just like how can you just lose so many times to this team and still not give them the respect and not play them like they're a very good team that you need to fight and and beat, because the USA have set the bar, and we have to meet them at that bar. We can't just be like, oh, they're just like, I don't know. It's just the lack of respect for other teams and not wanting really. I like the way that I see them treat dual nationals. Just because like, oh, they're not Mexican, so why would they be on the team? Because you want to win. Because you want to win. Like that's why. And just that mentality is like that's why the U.S. is going up and Mexico is kind of staying stagnant. I'm not saying going down, just stagnant, because we're past our golden age of the best players we had in a very long time. We're past that, and we don't want to go and get the two nationals. We just want another Vela, another Dos Santos to appear out of thin air and just be there for us. But that's not really, in my opinion, the reality of what's going to actually happen.
That's a tectonic take in a sense because the USA got crushed by Switzerland 4-0. So if you look at Switzerland and Turkey, those pairs of friendlies as a measuring stick, those were the common opponents USA and Mexico had in the friendlies before the Gold Cup. Mexico at least put up a fight against Switzerland and they beat Turkey. So on talent wise, you're right. USA has the talent, they have more players in Europe. But Mexico, at least, they brought all their top guns to this tournament. They got their star players, and they've been performing well this year when come together as a Mexican national team. The next step, though, 90 minutos. They need to put it together for a full 90 minutes. I don't care if it's Dominican Republic. I don't care if it's Argentina. I don't care if it's Bayern Munich, who just crushed Auckland City 10-0 at the Club World Cup. Like, they need to put it together because there's going to be some teams in CONCACAF. People sleep on CONCACAF thinking that, oh, it's a walk in the park to get to the final. I'm not saying this is Europe or South America, and heck, we may not be as deep in talent compared to Africa or Asia. There may be more good teams in those continents than there are in CONCACAF. But there are still dangerous teams in CONCACAF that can give even the big dogs trouble.
Yeah, I want to make sure for the record that I do agree. I think Mexico is on the upswing right now with the results that they're getting. I'm frustrated with the last, like I said, 5 years of what it feels has been stagnant, and then not getting the amount of trophy that I feel we should have or could have gotten. And I hope that we are, the results that we've had are an indication of where we're going overall.
Lastly, we'll just mention with the Club World Cup, we've seen all three MLS participants compete. Inter Miami needed a penalty save to draw 0-0 against Al Ahly, but it was a pretty even game anyway. Botafogo beat Seattle Sounders 2-1, and Chelsea beat LAFC 2-0. Just on those results alone, anything you might have heard, fair to say that this was a respectable showing, at least for match day one of the Club World Cup by MLS.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have mixed results. I don't think that every team in that tournament is as good as, like, not all the MLS teams in that tournament are equal to each other. I think that's obvious, but I think that foreigners, people from other countries, will think that's the case. So we got to root for the MLS teams for the most part. Again, teams I'm neutral about, I will root for MLS teams, not LA. But yeah, I think that's got to be the frustrating thing is that other countries will see the MLS teams and think less of us, but some of them will have the firepower to beat you, and just because you beat Seattle doesn't mean you could beat LAFC, because those are two very different teams, or the other way around. Seattle have things that LAFC don't either, so it goes both ways.
Right. And this may be used as a measuring stick between Liga MX and MLS. Liga MX have Pachuca and Monterrey in this tournament, and I think the closest thing you're going to have to compare these two leagues just from this competition is the fact that LAFC won the head-to-head against Club America to get that fifth CONCACAF spot. But in CONCACAF Champions Cup, it's been Mexico every time except for that 1 year Seattle Sounders win it. So you can't read too much into any one competition except for, if any, the CONCACAF Champions Cup, because that's been the most consistent arena for those two big leagues in CONCACAF. But as for this expanded Club World Cup format, you're going to get a Bayern winning 10-0, and you're also going to get a Boca Juniors fighting hard against a European team like Benfica and winning 2-2. So you're going to get so many different results that there's going to be so many conclusions drawn. It's too early to tell, but at least from this small sample size, even if we are biased as MLS fans, we feel like Major League Soccer has shown so far through their representatives that they're not as bad as a lot of people think they are. I think that it's a reasonable result to lose 2-1 to a team from the biggest non-European league in the world, a Brazilian club. It's reasonable for an MLS team to lose 2-0 to the team that finished fourth in the Premier League.
People don't rate Brazilian teams anywhere near where they should be rated. Some of the best players in the world come from this league, and they immediately make an impact. Like Marquinhos, Diego Silva, Neymar. Like I could. We love Brazilian players for a reason. And where do you think they come from? They're not coming from Portugal. Like, It's ridiculous. But Ivan, I have a question for you, real quick. Um,
Okay.
I don't know if you saw, but before the Miami match, they did a different like presentation thing. Like, you know how in the NBA, all the starters would come out and like Curry, Iguodala, Iguodala is such a. Is that how you pronounce his name?
You got it right. You
Okay,
got
okay, cool.
Iguodala right.
I was worried about getting roasted if I didn't. So they did this for the Miami match, and like all the players. The problem is in basketball you have 5 starters on each team, so that's 10. In soccer you have 11 players on each team, so that's 22 names to name, and I don't think it works for this sport. What do you think, Ivan?
I think that it's not unheard of. Maybe I'm thinking too much with my FIFA video game brain than my watching English soccer brain, but I think I recall hearing the in stadium announcer mention, oh, here's Allison, Trent Alexander Arnold, Virgil van Dijk, blah, 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 if Liverpool's playing. So it's not the strangest thing ever, but in comparison from the 10 starters in an NBA game to a 22 starters in a soccer game, they probably would feel like the presenters at a graduation ceremony having to take a sip of water every 20 names or so.
That's exactly what the vibes it was. It's just so many names, and the players, because they're used to like walking out in a line together, right, unified. It was just individually walking out like with like, 10, 20 yards between them. It just seemed a little bit awkward. I'm sure that if they decided this is how we're doing it from now on, that it would get less awkward and players would hype themselves up more, and then own it more. But whether or not that's the direction we want to be going in, I'm not sure. I think that soccer needs to become more theatrical in a lot of ways. I think that we can make progress in the sport. I'm not sure if I would choose that because again, 22 names is a lot of names as compared to 10, which is 10 is like it's a like fine amount, but 22 is double that and more.
As promised, we're going to conclude with a preview for our discussion next week with FC Dallas and LA Galaxy double game week. The Sounds of Earthquakes in the month of May did not win both a midweek and a Saturday MLS fixture back to back. So even though both Dallas and Galaxy they're on life support in terms of the playoff race, they're lower than us on the table. I think that 4 points should be seen as a success rather than expecting we should beat both these teams, especially considering we're going on the road to Dallas. So just because they're worse than us right now doesn't mean that we can assume that we're going to win that game anyway. But if we can play to our potential, I think that 4 points out of six is an achievable goal. What do you think, Abram?
No, I would agree. I think that Dallas, and it's June right now, it can be very hot. And I think last time that did us in, we've lost like 5-6-0 to Dallas. I believe like we've had some really bad games to Dallas. Uh, and that was last year. This year, I believe they have Acosta on their squad. They have moved what's his name Ferreira over to Seattle, who hasn't been doing great, but he was obviously a big player for Dallas. So I haven't. I don't know if you noticed, but I haven't kept up with Dallas too much. I'm hoping that they're not um, gonna be that good I think that Acosta is a great player, but I maybe we should think about having one of the guys from the podcast on we had last year or the year before on just to help me really get acquainted with his team because yeah, I mean I'm looking at this table and -6 goal differential. I feel happy to see that. I look at that and I'm like, yay. And then even better for LA Galaxy, I'm like, we already beat them. That was a kind of a rough game in terms of like we had to slug it out 1-0, but that at least gives us something to think about, and then like a precedent. Um, I have no precedent for this FC Dallas team because it's a much different team than we've seen in the years before. So yeah, that's my short, educated an analysis on Dallas and very short thoughts about Galaxy as well.
Yeah, I'll have more information analysis regarding some of the recent results both these teams have had. Of course, we played LA Galaxy more recently, so we have that fresh in our memory still. Look forward to that next week. Since we still wouldn't have another game to recap, we may still give you another update on the Gold Cap and the Club World Cup stuff, but we'll make sure to bookend both those videos. I mean, both sides of that episode with another rousing discussion regarding the San Jose Earthquakes. One last thing I wanted to end on as we approach the hour mark here, and I apologize for not bringing this up at the beginning of the podcast, but the last week or so, there's been a lot of threats. There's been a lot of activity in regards to the White House sending the National Guard and sending ICE to terrorize immigrant communities, and that's unacceptable. I mentioned in a post on social media, but all six of our co hosts, whether it's Scandinavia, whether it's Iran, whether it's Uruguay, whether it's Mexico, we come from immigrant backgrounds, and that is just not okay. And of course, when you look at soccer, you look at soccer culture globally, soccer culture in the United States, within the Sounds of Earthquakes organization. We are multilingual, we are multi ethnic, we come from all corners of the globe. And we stand with immigrants who stand against any sort of tyranny, and we want to support all the supporters who have done so much for this community, regardless where you come from, that know that you're safe with us, you're safe within our community, and we have your back. Anything you'd like to add, Abram?
Yeah, I need to get my mic back on. Yeah, I saw a video of a protest, peaceful protest, and there was a standoff between the police and the. I won't. Obviously, nothing happens. I'm not going to tell anything violent here, but so it's just a bunch of protesters and the police on their horses, in front of the military birthday party thing, and it's all a big hubbub. And this kid he's sitting on his father's back, and he has a trumpet, and he's playing the national anthem on his trumpet, and the crowd is silent listening to this kid. And that's the first time I've heard the national anthem being played and probably like shed a tear because that's what it means. That's these are the people, and I think that's we kind of forget that that's what this nation's about. It's about democracy, and I think the hashtag No Kings movement I think is it really resonates with me, and I don't want to get too deep into it on the soccer podcast, of course, but no, it's ridiculous the state of the country and the power imbalance. It's a lot, and I'm getting a little bit emotional talking about it here, but no, it's ridiculous what has been going on, and it's just so backwards of what we're supposed to be, this nation in general, um, and the fact that we broke away from a monarchy, and then 250 years later we have to be saying no kings. We still have to be saying that. Um, it is ridiculous.
It is absolutely ridiculous. And the one thing I will say is that seeing the turnouts in some of those protests across the Bay Area and across the country, it has restored a small bit of hope that people see what's going on and are responding to it in a peaceful way and using their voice, using their collective power. It's just a small step that needs to be taken. And even though this is a soccer podcast, that you cannot separate sports from politics entirely, especially not in this sport. You look at any club that you follow in Europe, and there's some origins in which the two intermixed, and it's still present to this day. So it's very important that we talk about this. And in our Discord, we do have a safe space where you can have conversations about serious topics. If you're worried about anything regarding the current state of our society, we're here to support you because we care about you. So thank you for anyone who is still listening to us an hour, 5 minutes in. And We hope that we can continue to do you proud by being good representatives of this community that we have as part of the San Jose Earthquakes, as San Jose Earthquake supporters. Vamos Quakes.
Vamos Quakes.
Vamos todos.